So,
Yes.
Okay. Welcome to Money Talk Viewpoint. I'm Chantel Leeson, your host. We're on our weekly series of health, wealth, and loving care, and how do you track the cash in the process of all that. We are an online talk show podcast for financial advisors and financial professionals who specialize in working with high net worth, ultra high net worth, family office, and family-owned businesses. Because the best way to get in touch with people is to have them know who you are and where you are. Reach out to us today at moneytalkviewpoint.org. We're going to get ourselves started today. I'll let each person introduce themselves and tell them what you do. Can we start at your end, Jonathan? Jonathan, introduce yourself and tell them what you do.
Sure thing. Hi, everybody. I'm Jonathan, or John to my close friends and colleagues. I am the owner and founder of Fister Retirement and Insurance. And what we'd like to focus on for individuals is people who are going on to Social Security and all the way into the retirement. And we help people with their Medicare, long-term care, retirement planning.
Mary?
I'm Mary Elaine Petrucci, and I'm the transformational caregiver mind body coach. And I help caregivers look at their limiting beliefs, strategies that no longer work for them, and look at their values as well, using mind body techniques and hypnosis.
Katie?
I'm Katie Fister, same last name as John. So that's my husband. We work together. Both of us are brokers doing health and life insurance, and our primary, although we do all ages, our primary focus is with Medicare. So we help people through the whole process and meet their individual needs by shopping all different types of plans.
Dennis?
Yeah, good morning. Again, Dennis Williams. The company name is CashMap Consulting. The focus of what I do after 25 years of healthcare background is enabling people to strengthen their finances, be it boosting a credit score, accelerating being able to get out of debt, boosting their portfolio performance, as well as being able to minimize the interest that they pay financial institutions. Happy to be here.
Okay. Last week we talked about communication. We talked about connecting with people. I'm going to open up today, Jonathan, and start us off, you and Katie, with the different types of products and how they affect people, and so they can understand, because a lot of people do not understand long-term care or what products are at their disposal and how they can benefit them or the family. And we can open up with you.
All right, Katie.
So we have long-term care policies, but traditionally you want to get that when you're healthy and when you're younger, because the insurance companies are going to underwrite you, which means they're going to rate you based on your health and your age. So the older that you are, usually the premiums are going to be higher. There are policies that we can include riders that help to cover some of those additional things that you might need. But the long-term care idea is that you're going possibly into a facility, or you're going to need ongoing care, not just for a short period of time. Typically, short-term care could be like you have a surgery, for a period of time, you might need additional help, but then you're going to be back to normal, being back to work, able to do all your normal tasks in a day. One of the popular things that's coming up more and more now, because there's actually less long-term care businesses out there, is using life insurance to actually provide that money for yourself for long-term care. So that could include going to facility, because I know a lot of people do think about long-term care in that aspect, but it can also include home health care. So whether that's hiring someone to come to your home, now there are policies where you can actually pay a family member to be your caregiver, because that might actually be where someone has to stop working in order to take care of you. But that goes back to that communication, a discussion you have to have with your family as to what you're planning to do if you need that long-term care.
Dennis, you've worked with the different types of products. Can you give some feedback on, and also you work with people in understanding their cash flow needs with CashMap. A lot of times when people go through illnesses and there's someone in the home, particularly in-home care, are they going through a lot of expenses? Can you share some of that with the audience, and how CashMap can help them along the way before they get there, and then after they get there, how they track their spending? Or however you want to take that.
That's a great point. Unfortunately, the tragedy in planning for our later years is that few of us do that. And when I say that, there's two perspectives. First of all, few people understand the cost of the care, and they frequently believe that their medical plan or Medicare is going to pay for it, when in fact it does not. So that's problem number one. And the other issue I'd also put on the table is that long-term care is frequently just focused on being a kind of when you get old problem. But in fact, there is a higher probability of someone being disabled than it is them dying. And should you have an accident, and I can think of one story of a young lady who, while I was CFO at a hospital, where she was on her way to defend the final meeting to defend her dissertation. She got into a car accident, head trauma. She was only 34 years old, and she will be in a long-term care facility the rest of her life because of the cognitive impact that it had for her. When we end up having a disability policy, of course, it replaces income, but it does not replace just daily activities or loss of cognition. And so from that perspective of what CashMap does, it does enable you to kind of plug in kind of whatever your current cash spending is, be able to see where you are versus if you were to make a change, and the impact that it would have over the coming years and the growth that you could end up having in your savings portfolio, and be able to create if-then scenarios so that you can actually have your eyes opened as it relates to kind of seeing where am I now and where do I want to be and what changes do I need to make now so I get to where I want to be. That's probably the simplest way to put what CashMap helps people do. I don't believe there is no other product on the market at this point when it comes to planning for the future, giving you a why to that dirty word called budgeting, that enables you to kind of have a peek into the future based on what you spend today.
Yeah, that's a strong point, because I know many people meet with financial advisors, and I've been a financial advisor for over the past 27 years. And we do go over budgets, and what we don't think, and I think that a lot of us project that the budget we help people set up for themselves as they set aside money into the various different investment vehicles. It doesn't really project out what you can do through CashMap. Am I correct in saying that, Dennis? From your experiences in working with financial professionals?
Yes. From my experience working with financial professionals, CashMap kind of brings a whole nother level as relates to kind of making people think in terms of here's where you are now. And now if you did this versus this, here's what it will do then. And to actually have it in the hands of the customer, an easy to use approach so that they can actually see, what it'll mean. I think one of the biggest frustrations that I have seen with financial planners and investment advisors has been you make this beautiful planning document, and six or 8 months later, you go back and talk with the client and they just blew it out of the water.
Yeah.
Right. Now they actually have it as a finance app where you can now just load it on your phone or on your tablet and then do it at home yourself.
Yeah, I have to admit that I've seen in my own experiences, we help people plan out things, and we set the different investment policies in place, and we initiate that for a client. When I go back and check that person a year up the road, it looks like none of the things you put in place actually, very seldom they actually follow through, because life circumstances sometimes affect the impact that you have. You set me today, they're fine. Tomorrow something can happen. The kid needs money. And the parents are not going to sit there and twiddle their thumbs because it's for their retirement. They're going to spend that money. So there's no specific guarantee, but the fact that you have put together a cash map to help someone track what's going to happen up the road is distinctly different than having someone put together a document that's written in stone, and it's not always beneficial. I'm going to turn over to Mary, because Mary's the founder of a caregiver community as well as a caregiver academy. Share something in your experiences, Mary, with the audience here, and some of the things you've gone through with people that are going through a long-term illness and are the caregivers for that family member.
Well, several things. It does come down to financial issues, and like other people have spoken about already, you need to really figure out how you can, with the spending you're doing in Cash Map, what other ways can you generate financial wealth, whether that means selling off certain items in your house or finding different avenues to create financial abundance. You also have to look at the person's identity about how they feel about their self-worth. And that really plays into how much that they will spend, or if you want to use the word like hoard money away because they don't feel worthy of receiving money. That's another step. And the third step really is to look at the story that you're playing in your mind about your financial abundance, and really stop and think about all those unexpected events and your idea of what financial abundance is, so that you can be more prepared for using the Cash Map or planning for Medicare or long-term care insurance. So I think it's just looking at your perspective about how you feel about financial abundance, how worthy you feel about financial abundance, and what story you're playing in your mind, and just doing some out-of-the-box thinking and planning depending on where you are in your lifespan, so that you can be prepared for different scenarios as much as you can. And like Dennis was saying, with that 34-year-old woman, it really limits your ability and the services that you're getting when you're in long-term care. So, because then you're on state Medicaid at that point, and Medicaid does not reimburse for a lot of rehab or other necessities that you may need.
If you have two different entities that you manage, what's the difference in your caregiver community and your caregiver Lifeline Academy? Share with the audience the differences in the two. And for the people that are listening, where will they fit in? Because I'm sure there are people that want to know, there are caregivers that are out there already who need support, and some probably need more training on how to be a better caregiver. Can you share with us the difference in the two different entities?
Definitely. Thank you for asking. The Caregiver Lifeline community is really an area where caregivers can ask other caregivers about their experiences and how to maybe change a certain situation that they're experiencing at the time. They also would have access to the speakers who have offered different programs for them. I have speakers who are on like 3 of my Caregiver Lifeline summits, so they have access to other materials and support services from speakers or from myself, because I was a caregiver for both my parents in terms of making sure that they had 24/7 care. The Caregiver Lifeline Academy, on the other hand, really offers all the mind-body programs and hypnosis training programs for caregivers, whether it's a family caregiver, an allied health person, a nurse, a holistic practitioner, to help them with their stress, overwhelm, and burnout, so that they can have a more rewarding caregiving journey as well as a more purpose-filled life.
I appreciate that. Jonathan, I'm not going to let you sit there and be quiet. All that energy you have.
You're not.
Jump right in and give us your story, your feedback, and what you think we need to add into our conversation here.
Well, as we know, everything that we do on this side of the table, every single one of us is about, we have a wealth of knowledge, and it's really about trying to find the people that need it. We really want to educate these individuals out there, whether it's about managing money, managing their health insurance, getting the right care, and then the people that are giving them that care, making sure that they're up to date with what they need. Ultimately, you can plan forever, but then a wrench happens, right? So it's about support, getting the right support structure in place. So when something does go bump in the night, you have somebody, a team, an individual, whomever, ready to go and help you through that navigation. I believe everybody on this side of the table has that attribute.
I'm going to switch to a different view. We've got about 15 minutes left. I'm going to let you ask questions amongst one another. Give me a second here. We're going to go to a different view. There we are. How's that? We left the boardroom, and now we're in our meeting room. Jonathan, I want you to ask Dennis questions how cashback can be a benefit to you at Pfister.
What a great question. Hey, Dennis, I have some questions for you. So as a retirement planner and other financial advisors, we guys touched about this a little bit, and there's a number of different softwares out there specifically that maybe they talk a little bit about taxes, or they talk about this bucket and what this thing does. Specifically, user-friendly, is this something that they need a financial advisor to help them do, or is this really for an individual who can do it themselves and really have a good viewpoint on what they're doing?
It's actually a little bit of both. And to some degree, someone like yourself, you have the choice as far as being able to work with your client. I've got some customers who they've gone through the app. It actually has an educational component, and they went through it and said, I see how to use it. I get it. Many other individuals, however, that's not the way that they learn. And so in that respect, I do a couple of free webinars, as well as consulting, as far as kind of helping people kind of take where they are and just help familiarize themselves with the direction that they want to go, which in that case, they can then take it from there. So we really do run the entire spectrum as relates to someone who needs no support and just actually loves the concept of leveraging the bank's money to their benefit, and keeping their money working for them all the time and seeing what happens in the future, and then capturing where their spending is, to the individual who has little exposure at all and finances somewhat intimidate them, and they're looking for having some support. So as a matter of fact, we just came out with a new version of CashMap yesterday. It came up in the Apple Store, and now it actually enables you to just actually register for a free webinar when you download the app for free.
Very cool. Another question too, specifically about the user themselves. Is this geared towards, I'm a 22-year-old, I just graduated college, I'm in my first job, what the heck do I do now? Or is it, I've been working for the last 30 years and I have, $500,000 in my 401k. Is this the right move for me? Or is it yes?
It addresses both. And certainly most recently, just to shift the subject a little bit, with what we now know is going to be happening for the deferment for student loan payments disappearing. The CashMap strategy is a powerful one to minimize the interest cost that people will be paying. But there is one caveat, and that is you need at least $100 after you pay your bills every month. So as long as you got $100 left over, then you can use this strategy to your benefit, to shift the profile of what you're going to be paying the bank over time, as far as the interest cost. And of course, by minimizing the interest cost, you can quickly pay a loan off faster. And the system that we use that's extremely safe just dramatically boosts people's credit score. I've got one client who went from a 530 to a 775 in 1 year.
Wow.
And the beauty of it is there was no change in their spending.
Wow.
So it's actually leveraging a long time strategy that banks have been using for years, but most of us aren't aware of it.
Isn't that how it goes? Somebody knows something. It's just up to us to figure out what it is and share the word.
That's impressive.
Yeah, and decide to take the interest that it's worth our time. And so that's the other problem, is the other challenge, of course, which again is same thing with long-term care, is that none of us see ourselves getting the reality of getting older. It just kind of creeps up on
Through
you.
ignorance, we're going to live forever, right?
Yeah,
Interrupt
exactly
you
right.
two guys for a second. I'm gonna give the two ladies. You know, you men. Men will take over the floor. Sorry, guys.
Sorry.
I have to interrupt you. I'm gonna get the ladies, Katie and Mary. I want you to tell us now. Katie, you talked about the different kind of insurance products. Mary, you talked about the Caregiver Academy and the Caregiver Lifeline. What questions would you want to ask Katie, or Katie, would you want to ask Mary about how the two fit together, what you two do?
Katie, so if you're a professional in the sandwich generation, like that 45 and older, who are still raising a family, working full time and caring for a parent or grandparent, what type of insurance vehicle would you advise someone to have in addition to like Medicare, or planning for yourself as well as your loved one?
Well, this kind of, I mean, it all fits together along with it. Big factor is going to be finances. If you are taking care of your own family, normally that's what your primary focus is. So you want to make sure that you are able to pay your bills. I'm not advising people to stop working and then they're struggling on their own to help care for a family member. So we would have to take a look at the finances. And then we would look at if it's somebody who's already at the position where they need long-term care, it's going to be, and they don't have it, at that point, it's too late to get that. We would look at some of the other different avenues, and that might be where you have to use some of those extra resources to reach out for help. I'm very familiar with ones here in Northern Illinois. I know there's going to be places all over. Sometimes, you know, your first step might be reaching out to a government program and then going from there. We do have them, but like for me, I have a lot of connections, personal connections that I would refer people to in that situation that they may have to actually get some Medicaid help. And for that, the older individual or the individual that needs that long-term care, whether it's a family member that's older, whether it's somebody who's disabled, they may need some additional assistance. And I know, like with my stepdad, his situation, it took him about 2 years to actually get disability. So it's a process. And then like Dennis had mentioned, he had a disease and he had an accident. And so with those combined, he had to go to a lot of therapy, and that's not all, you only have so much insurance. And then my mom, for instance, was spending tons of money on this. So finding those other resources that can help you with that. So we've got the government, but there's different charities too. So I know like one that's very popular here is Catholic charities. So people donate to that and then they help people fill in those gaps. So that would be one avenue I'd look at for a family like that. But another thing would also be finding if that family is struggling with the caregiving, they might need to find someone that can come into the home and help with that caregiving too. Because you've talked about communication before, and we had a client we met with this last year, and she is stressed beyond belief because she's doing all the caregiving and she doesn't feel like she ever gets a break. It's like a full-time job. And so we had suggested that she does have someone that comes in about 4 hours here and there just to even give her that break to help out with things.
You know, before we wrap up, we got about 5 minutes left. I want to say something else. I want to add this one thing. For those who are listening to our show online, I would suggest you go look at our YouTube channel. We talk about other ways to generate revenue. If you own a home and you paid down that mortgage and you've pretty much paid off your house, you can set up a reverse mortgage. That generates a revenue stream that will last you for a lifetime. But look at our channel. It's called Money Talk Viewpoint, and it's on YouTube. Before we wrap up, is there anything anyone else wants to say to our audience that would help them to reach out to you? Go ahead, John.
No, I'm just pointing to my phone number and my email.
Okay, perfect. Dennis, how can they reach out to you?
You can reach out to me at dennis@cashmapconsulting.com. And my cell number is also 360-510-6919.
Katie?
So similar to what John was pointing at, my phone number is 847-894-6314. Very similar emails, you just switch the J with a K. But basically you can reach out to me, and if it's something that we specifically can't help you with, we are more than willing to refer you to other people.
Mary, I want you to share both your academy and your lifeline.
Okay, thank you. You can reach me at Caregiver Lifeline Community. It's a Facebook group. You can also, I also have that as a monthly or yearly subscription for the group itself, where you can get a lot of support from one another and from other professionals. You can also reach me at Caregiver Lifeline Academy. My email is maryelaine@caregiverlifelineacademy.com. My phone number is 720-382-8249. Love to help. If there's a question anyone has about caregiver resources, please reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to do the research for you and help you in any way I can.
I want to thank everyone for coming today. We got about exactly 1 minute left. Anything else you want to add to that last minute before we set off for the day? Everybody's looking around. Okay, I want to thank our audience. Now, this video is going to be uploaded on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and if I can think of anything else, we uploaded to that as well. We're trying to set this up to have a weekly show. It's not possible just yet, but keep following us as we begin to set our weekly series. I'm Chantel Leeson, your host at Money Talk Viewpoint. I want to thank everyone for coming today.